There we go. Well, we are live. The LinkedIn, YouTube, and I think it's Twitch. Yeah, it's not Instagram. I don't do too much on Instagram. So we want to welcome those of you by way of international. We want to welcome you guys to a special edition. Hey, Happy New Year. We're already headed towards 2026, folks. Yes, we are. So we have Raymond with us all the way from, I'll let him share. We've got Jim. Oh, there we go. I know it's the Connecticut side over on the East Coast. It's not on the West, right? And we got Jim over there. And then we got Santos here. All right, we got turned down the music. We're trying to flow good here. We want to welcome everybody here. Hey, welcome. Ask a question. Join in. If you want to donate $5, donate $5. If you want to donate $100, you can donate tonight. I would like to give. Do you read? Do you even read? I'd like to give a book away tonight, if possible. If possible. So I'm excited to be here. I hope you're excited, man. We're growing. 2026 is on the horizon. So we've got a few things, and we're going to talk about M.M.P.C. a little bit, I guess. Maybe mind, mouth, power, congruency, self-talk, maybe mind, self-talk, thoughts. See how that's affecting you. How can you better your life going into this new year just by simply tweaking a little bit, right? This isn't just for tacos and spaghetti and chocolate shake and strawberry milkshakes. This is for something else also. All right, so welcome in, and make sure you're buckled up. Turn down all distractions. Yeah, we're here. It looks like we might have a comment. So Raymond, share your thought. And we have a proverb. I'll read a proverb later on, and we'll discuss this thing about M.M.P.C. and see how it ties in with exercise, with relationships, with negotiating. Go ahead, Raymond. You got some thoughts you want to share?
Well, I just think that I've been 5 months without gambling, and
there you go.
money's, it's really your finances are such a important part of your life, and it's time to stop taking steps backward. When you quit gambling, you go to work and you make a living and you make money and you're taking steps forward. So now that I'm not taking any steps backward, and it feels really good.
Yeah, you come to realize more and more that you had the ability in you all along. I mean, we all do, right? We all have the ability to do whatever we really want if we truly want it. The problem is that there's just something in the way. I believe that this is one of the main culprit right here. The taco feeder, right? Spaghetti slurper. Jim. Anyways, we're headed towards 2026. See how this thing works already? Mind, mouth, power. I'm already thinking 2026, but yet we're just getting into 2025. It's just going to go by so quick, I guess. Yeah, welcome to Ask Your Question. Out of time. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, man.
Happy New Year.
Jim, your thought on that?
Yeah.
Or your thought on exercise, or we were talking about earlier. What is it that is what's going to actually help us, right? What's going to help you? What is going to actually help you? Being real, sharing.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been studying during this break is some Buddhism. And one of the main things about Buddhism is suffering, trying to go out and fight against suffering. And the suffering is all created in between your ears. It's how you're perceiving things, the moments that happen. So the suffering occurs when you're interpreting things in a way that you're getting things that you don't want, or you're not getting the things that you want. So all those things cause the suffering. I'm suffering, in many ways. I've been struggling with, kind of losing joy and happiness in things that I used to enjoy. It's like, how come I'm not enjoying these things? It's like, not being grateful. It's like, how come I don't have that sense of gratitude? That's something that we all kind of fight for. And one of the things that they talk about is, when you're trying to fight suffering, you can't you can't bury it, your problems. You can't drug it. You can't use distractions to go ahead and deal with your suffering. You have to go out and face it. And a lot of the things that they talk about is meditation, thinking about, what's going on, in your thinking. So, I mean, there's the gambling way of, fighting your suffering, the medication way, right? And a lot of people unfortunately do that kind of stuff, but that's going to go ahead and continue getting you, behind the eight ball. I think so. Yeah. It's facing the problem, I guess, is the only way. Confronting the bully, punching the bully right in the nose. And that's something that is a good goal to have for this new year. One of the biggest ways of solving a problem is at first recognizing what kind of problem you have, getting real with it, not being in denial.
Mm-hmm. Facing it. Raymond's got 5 months, 6 months, 7 months under his belt, man. I'm actually, kind of inspired by sharing. And I think ultimately deep down inside there's a motive for you doing what you're doing. Everything that we do has a motive, ulterior. I think sometimes our self-talk doesn't allow us to see that. So if we have pure motives, then it's a good thing. But we're constantly blocking ourselves. We're blocking ourselves, and if we're not careful, we'll block other people with how we speak, the choice of words, or maybe even just noises that we make with this thing. Because whatever comes out here, it affects the mind, the thoughts, right? They're interconnected. Well, Santos, it's not really what you say, it's what you think. Well, Santos, it's not really what you think, it's what you say. This is more verbal. You hear this louder, I think. Maybe, I don't know. But I don't know. You can hear it silently too. It's just something different when you verbalize words, when you say things. And a lot of the times, I believe that's what's holding you back on the other side, or anyone, me included, is right here.
So,
Mind, mouth power is not operating as it should. 2025 is the year to get this thing more operational. Go ahead, Raymond.
So you're basically just saying that you got to have positive self-talk instead of negative self-talk. I mean, what are you talking about beyond that?
I'm talking about monitoring how you're speaking to the dialogue, monitoring your dialogue, right? Whether it's quiet or whether it's verbal. When you begin to do this, you just begin to notice a lot. It'd be cool if you could record yourself and listen to like an audio of yourself for the week of what you're saying, even while you're sleeping. That'd be an interesting thing to do. I don't know, probably could do it, but I don't know if I'd be interested.
I have a question there, Santos. How does that positive talk really affect you in regards to, what kind of benefit does it have? We can go and say that words are just words. Mm-hmm. Why would positive words about yourself mean anything when you don't believe it, if there's no proof behind it?
Well, that's a good question there. Well, the thing is, it's not just positive talk. It's conversation. See, we have conversations with ourselves. I don't think we're aware most of the time of the conversations that we're having. I don't think we are. Because I think we would be, I believe very strongly, we would probably be making different choices more of the time. So if we fine tune, right, what am I saying to myself? What kinds of questions am I asking myself? Right? You're fine tuning, that's a dialogue with yourself. And when you're using a journal and you're pouring yourself out, now you're also thinking, right? Because it's not just about positive talk. Positive talk's not really gonna, I mean, positive talk is good, right? I can do affirmations. I used to do a lot of that, read a lot of affirmations, pump yourself full of affirmations. Yet, like you said, if you don't believe, that's not the conversation, that's not the dialogue that you should be really working on. The dialogue that you should be working on is deeper. You need to connect with yourself on a deeper level. And some things to be completely forward, we're not going to figure out. We're going to have to figure out how to, like they say in the military, not conquer and divide, but you accept it and you have to move through it. You have to move with it. It doesn't have to be a burden in your life, if that makes sense. Because we're never going to be completely positive. But I believe that the better conversation that you have with yourself on an ongoing basis is going to make a better difference in your life. If you understand that dialogue, because again, thoughts are connected to words too. So certain words that we might even say might trigger thoughts. Thoughts might trigger words and we might say things. So to me, M.M.P., mind, mouth, power, congruency is just a balance, is getting a balance in your life. When you're around other people, sometimes you have a dialogue. When you're hearing other people, when you're listening to other people, other couples, different types, you're having inner dialogue. What kind of dialogue is going to help you better make better negotiations with yourself, right? Also, we're negotiating with people. We're negotiating in business. All of these things, and the finer we fine tune all of this, the better we're gonna become.
Santos.
If that makes sense. If that makes sense.
Back when I gambled and bought lottery tickets, I had a lot of negative self-talk. I was saying to myself, "What are you doing? Why did you just do that?" And you just blew $200, and you could have used that money for better things. So I would say that one reason I knew I needed to quit gambling was my negative self-talk that would ramp up during gambling episodes.
Yeah, see, it's not about negative talk either. It's not about positive, even though it's included. It's about the dialogue. It really, basically, it just boils down to really becoming to knowing who you are as what is your gift? What are your gifts? Are you employing your gift that God has given you? I remember there was a time where I was just existing. Maybe Raymond felt that way. I think we all feel that way I think a lot of people feel that way. You're just existing. And then some people choose to not to exist because they can't get rid of that feeling or that thought, right? I don't matter. I don't exist. Again, it's that inner dialogue. And that inner dialogue, again, if you're not careful, that inner dialogue turns into outward behavior. It turns into actions.
Hey, Raymond, what was the trigger, the craving that you got, to buy those scratcher tickets? What was your trigger? Was it?
My trigger was I would call them erroneous thoughts, that like not non-logical thoughts. I would say to myself, well, I've got $200 and well, maybe if I scratched a ticket, maybe I could turn it into $10,000 or $20,000. And that's really a dumb way of thinking, and it gets a lot of gamblers. Basically, what you need to say to yourself is, well, if I can save $200, maybe I could invest it and make money off of it the rest of my life, and if I don't give it away. But that was a big trigger for me. I find there's definitely also they're very exciting things for me, but I don't know. I just you get paid. Well, let's try to turn it into 30,000. Never happened.
It seems
Yeah,
like your interpretation of the situation has changed, a new perspective, right? Now you're saying that, you know what, I wasted my money. I could have been using this money for something. And every time I did the scratchers, I would just lose my money. What kind of game plan is that, right? So that's something that changed in your mind, I'm sure. And now you look at scratchers like, you know what? Nah, I don't have that craving, because there's so much information, new information now that I see that says, no, this doesn't smell good anymore. I'm not attracted.
You got a different dialogue also about your conversation with yourself is a different conversation. It's not the one that it used to be. You can go back and think about that conversation because you're sharing it, right? You can go back and vividly visit that conversation that you were having with yourself. It's a different dialogue. The gambler that's losing lots of money, that's losing his life, that's near the abyss, or he's got one leg in there, he's got a dialogue going on. He or she can't be in our presence here. They can't dialogue with us. They can hear positive words, they can hear negative words, but the dialogue doesn't. So the key is, if we're going to get better, if you're going to get better, it has to do with, number one, I say God's grace, because I know I wouldn't be here with God's grace, but he gives us, that's a gift, right? This thing is a gift, and it's not just for tacos. I made some ganduli rice, some Puerto Rican ganduli rice. It's kind of a little recipe. It's not difficult, but you don't find too many Puerto Rican restaurants around. Isn't that something? Go around and see if you can find a lot of Puerto Rican restaurants. You just can't. So I made some rice, and I don't know, why did I throw that in there? Maybe it's because I made up my mind and I did it. Or anyways, I don't know why I threw that in there, Puerto Rican restaurants. But the rice was good, so maybe it's because New Year's Day.
I was never the type of gambler that spent money to the point where I didn't. I never like, as a gambler, I was spending a lot of money on tickets, but I was never to the point where I was really like the worst case, one of the worst cases where I wasn't paying my bills and stuff like that. Yeah. Usually I was spending money that I would otherwise save. But I think not thinking logically I think that's a problem for a lot of gamblers.
Yeah, I see that. You had to go and confront, your situation. You had to go and say, why am I doing this? I think that's what a lot of addicts, if they want change, if they want some positive change, transformation, they have to go ahead and stop being in denial, realize that there's a problem, and look at their problem, right at it with a nice big light, and just analyze what's going on. Sometimes that's, we could be afraid, right? We could be very afraid of what we're going to go and find, what's underneath, this habit, these triggers, and, but that's what has to be done if you really want, change. And it's up to everyone to go ahead and say that, this is not the life for me. I need to go ahead and do something different.
And in order to do that, you have to create in order to really do that with yourself, somehow you're going to have your dialogue, right? That's one of the reasons why people go to a doctor. They want to hear from a doctor. Hey, doctor, the dialogue. A lot of times, I believe a lot of times that we go to the doctor in a hospital, unless it's a serious emergency, we could fix the thing ourselves just by simply listening and dialoguing and, hey, what's going on? Maybe even keeping a little log, if you will, a journal. Yet.
Yeah, but I just say that as a gambler, isn't it natural for the losses of money to nag at you and drag you down and make you feel pitiful? I felt like that was my main motivation for coming forward and putting a light on my problem. All those times of just saying, my God, I'm losing my money and I'm not, and it's just it's just really, it's just not an optimal way to live, to be putting yourself through that time and time again.
I think one of the problems there, Raymond, is that time heals all wounds, unfortunately. And for that particular pain that the gambler felt, losing all that money, as time goes on, the mind has a tendency to go and forget what happened, right? And then the triggers and the cravings start going on, whatever is pushing the gambler's button to go ahead and do it again,
The more influence, the worse.
Temptation, that temptation is going to go and start. So unfortunately, that happens. The pain has to be strong, and like I said before, you have to go ahead and really start looking at the problem, and you got to strike while the iron is hot, right? You got to go ahead and say, this is awful. I got myself to a bad situation. I need to take action immediately, and I need to go ahead and start pounding at this problem. Just keep my focus on this problem. What's the solution? What's the problem? The solution.
See, that's the dialogue right there. See, that's the dialogue. But what happens, most people, when they leave, they start talking. They create the dialogue again, and their own speech and everything. Just, in fact, the Bible says a man is enticed by his own words. Let me see if I can find that real quick. That if we're not careful, we're actually led away by, I've heard this said many times, we talk ourselves into things and we also talk ourselves out of things. I remember Anthony Robbins said, we should all over ourselves. Oh, I would have, I should have. So we should all over ourselves. I remember he said it fast. I thought he said shit. No, we should all over ourselves. I should have done this. I should have did this. And what am I looking for here now?
That reference in the Bible?
Yeah. Let's see. Where's mine?
I always think about an invisible barrier. There's always some type of invisible barrier that's preventing us from doing what we know what we should do, right? But we don't, right? What is that invisible barrier? Could it be fear, right? Could it be, our self-perception? Maybe we feel comfortable being in that victim role, that helpless role, Maybe that feels good because then you don't have to have any responsibility of doing any work to getting yourself out of the mess.
Yeah, but it's fictitious. It's fictitious. It's not. It might. If you feel, it just no.
Okay, here's two Proverbs. It says this is in Proverbs, and I read, of course, I call the Bible. The Bible is the book of Proverbs. The whole Bible is a proverb. Because the proverb means dark sayings or kind of a riddle. But the Bible is more than just a riddle. It's a true riddle, I guess you can say. But here, Proverbs 18:7 says, a fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. So I'm going to read one more verse, and then I'm going to go a little bit deeper for some of us to kind of understand something beyond the natural realm of things. because we're really focused in the physical world most of the time. Proverbs 18:7 says, a fool's mouth is his destruction. 12:14, a man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him. Okay, and then we read 18. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. It's the same thing that I said earlier. We're going to be enticed. You can be enticed by the own words that you say to yourself. Now, what we don't understand a lot of the time is that if you believe, we're creatures of God. We came from somewhere. Somebody created us. There had to be a mastermind to put us together. We couldn't have evolved from a frog or from, some amoeba or something. That's just impossible. When you look at the human, and we have these gifts and we have these abilities they're just buried. They're buried. They're buried in a poor foundation from our childhood, business transactions, relationships that we've had. All of these kinds of things are going on. When we really, really stop to think, wow, I have this thing here, and I read these verses, and they're very powerful. So I have to understand. Yet we struggle. But this is one of the main keys. And when we get to learn that dialogue, and that dialogue is flowing right within ourselves, it'll flow right with others too. Sometimes we get around other people and we may not really like their dialogue, their conversation, their energy. Because it's like, well, I don't have that. Or we begin comparing. No, we can't compare. You have to find your gift. You have to know you. You have to understand you. What is it that you're so best at? What is it that you're so... Work on that. Fail your way into it if you have to. I guess I can say I failed my way into many things. Yet you just keep going, right? Well, I'm failing at gambling. We'll keep failing because one of the two things is going to happen. Either you're going to fail enough and walk away, or it's going to break you. It's going to take everything you've got. It will eventually take everything. And you'll walk out the door, and these places, they won't send you. They might send you an invitation, come and spend more money. They're not going to say, hey, Dennis and Sylvia, we know that you walked out the doors our casino, on such and such day. We want to send you a check, for $1,500. We don't know how you're doing. You might have need something. I don't think so. Somebody said,
they're just gonna take and take. They're gonna take and take and take as long as you put your money in their hand. It's funny. My dad has a saying, and he's actually a wise man in many ways. And what he says is he doesn't gamble because his dollar is going to wind up in someone else's pocket.
See, that's good dialogue right there. That's good thoughts.
Oh.
Good
Santos, you're talking a lot about dialogue and the importance of having a dialogue that's good for you, and I just don't understand. Like, what could you give us an example of good dialogue and bad dialogue, or optimal dialogue versus not optimal dialogue?
Well, when you get up in the morning, right? Do you ever sense that you're having some conversations with yourself? Like in the morning or at night, during the day? Right? If you're monitoring, there's thoughts going on. They say there's about 80,000 thoughts flowing through your subconscious all the time, right? In your mind. Now, I don't know, but there's things going on. And all I'm saying is basically you're just catching things, and maybe you're slowing your thoughts down a little bit to really think and to understand where you are in life. And, if you're doing good, most people that are doing good don't even, well, I shouldn't say maybe they do. I imagine they do. If you're doing good, you should reflect on why you're doing good, right? If you're doing good, if you reflect on why you're doing good, you may do better. If you are doing bad and you're willing to reflect on why you're doing bad, will you do worse?
I would say that one of the things that I did was like at the end of the day, I practiced gratitude because on this show and on Ramsey Solutions, they were talking about the importance of being thankful for lots of different things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that I'm still in the dark quite a bit as to what you're talking about, but I would say that I've practiced gratitude lately, and that's helped out.
There you go, right there. That practicing gratitude instead of bitterness. Right? Murmuring and complaining. We complain all the time. I catch myself too, and I hate it. I'm getting a lot better.
Gambling brings bitterness.
Mm-hmm. Complaining, murmuring and complaining. Have you ever been around somebody that's a murmurer? It's just a complainer.
You don't want to be around those types of people.
Yeah, I mean, we fall into that. We do. And sometimes, so I have to catch myself. Every once in a while, I might say something, oh, wait a minute, I shouldn't. So it's just a matter of becoming aware, because we're all different. See, I can tell you how I do things, right? I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of mirror talk. I'll talk straight right into my eyes, and I'll do things, but not everybody can do that. Not everybody's willing to do that. I might do it for 20 minutes. Maybe you can do it for 5 minutes. So all I'm saying is, what is your mind-mouth power congruency? Do you feel that your life is progressing? Right? Do you feel as if it's progressing? If you can say, yeah, I feel okay, well then what do you keep building on that, right? But if it's not, what is it that's not? What could I do? What could I change? Maybe instead of getting up in the morning and checking my emails, maybe I should read a proverb. Maybe that internal dialogue, okay, Santos, you're getting up in the morning, you're half groggy, half asleep. Okay, let's get into the proverb. Boom, open up your phone or whatever, have it right there. You're reading a proverb, you wrote a poem down. I've shared this many times. You wrote a little poem, 3 or 4 sentences, and you read that poem to yourself every morning. It's a poem you read yourself, for yourself, to encourage yourself, and you read that to yourself every single morning. That becomes a part of your dialogue. That becomes a part of your speech. Now you don't have to read that in the mornings, because throughout the day, you're going to be saying it to yourself, or at least part of that poem. So, I mean, and again, the other thing is, when we're talking with somebody, right? When you're speaking with somebody, if you're not thinking about what it is that you're saying, and what they're saying, if you're not there, most people, sadly to say, sometimes I'm talking to somebody, you can tell they're not there. Most people are not there, man. That's why it's just difficult for somebody to watch a 1 or 2, 3 minute video sometimes. Anyway, does that make sense? Inner dialogue is not just your speech. It has to do with your thinking. It also because all of this stuff that goes on, it comes out of you. It formulates into something, either into journaling, into reading, writing a book, creating videos, or going in the wrong direction, doing all the wrong things. Cause effect. I know for me, I have to work on my mouth still continually, because I know what I say to myself. And sometimes you could be mean, really mean to yourself, or you can overinflate yourself. Yeah. You need. Jesus said there's a path that's broad, right? It's wide. There's many walking on that. And then he said there's a road that's narrow, very straight. There's only few that find that road. Wow, time is going by so quickly. Very interesting. And so that's why I've labeled it ST. You know, I call it M.M.P.C. There was a time in my life where I didn't think about my thoughts. Of course, I was just existing. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I didn't know where I really came from. I thought I came from mom and dad. That's what I thought. Well, I did come from them. Yeah, but it goes deeper than that. You know, why do I have sand in my foundation? Where does that sand come from? Right? Why do I have moments in life where it just becomes so difficult for me? Where did this? I didn't have this before. 10 years ago, it wasn't like this. Now all of a sudden, something's showing up in my life. What is it? Why is it showing up? And how? Inner dialogue. I can get bitter. You know what? Screw the world, man. Don't mess with me, man. There's ways to deal with things. Lord help us all. Yeah. Anyways, out of time. What was that? Very little sleep. We need to put smudges on our glass wall that we stop running into it. Remember that plane? Did you guys hear about that plane? By the way, Happy New Year's to LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitch. Did you guys hear about that plane in South Korea? They hit that wall. Was it 108
No.
passengers died? 179 passengers. A plane landed in South Korea, a South Korean airline, a Boeing 737, I believe, landed along and it skidded all the way down. It would have made it fine. It would have made it. The landing gear didn't come off, or it didn't come out. It didn't retract or extract, whatever so it's barreling down the runway, and there's a cement wall waiting down at the end, and it runs right into it and blows up. And it was fine. It would have ran out of steam. It would eventually, but it hit a wall like we're talking about. Right there. Where is it? We need to put smudges on our glass so we keep running into it. Glass wall. My condolences to those family members. 179 people died. 2 survived on that airplane. I think about a week ago.
Is that North Korea?
South Korea.
Okay, South Korea. I didn't.
Yeah, JU, and they were. Anyways, things happen, man, like that. That's just really sad. They made it from the air down, and then only to run into a cement wall there at the end of the runway. Well, we know that we're headed towards 2026. That's for sure. So I got the proverb in. Will ST be your destroyer? Will this be your destroyer? Or will it be your uplifter? Your helper? When you get up in the morning, you know, imagine it's just life. You're going to have troubles, but more than not, you wake up in the morning and you got a whistle. You know, you got a little whistle, you got a proverb, you got a positive statement. It sets up the foundation for the rest of the day. When we're children, there's a foundation that is built underneath us. And that foundation was there to help us build for the rest of our lives. And unfortunately, sand got in there. So now we have to deal with it now. And I guess encouraging words, encouraging thoughts, good dialogue from somebody else will make a difference. That's all I have to say tonight. I do want to thank all of you guys for participating. And if there's a question or two, shoot it there. Out of time. She stays safe. Yes, we create our day. And Raymond, we're going to give you some last words there. Does anybody read? Does anybody read?
I read.
A few numbers. If anybody reads and you're in the United States, Skype. Let me see. Skype me, and you can get a. Hey, you can get a little gift, little book here. The LRB, Little Red Book. All right. We will be here on Sunday. Wow, I thought today was Thursday. We'll be here on Sunday again, and we'll dive into this topic of M.M.P.C. because Raymond's, good. We got to dig deeper into this. How can we incorporate dialogue? What is this really? It takes time to build into this. We're just scratching, I think, the surface because, again, when it comes to these gifts that God has given you and I, they're deep, man. Unless we really stop and look and, man, it's just not going to happen that easily, man. If it was that way, I think we'd all be walking on cloud 9 every day if it was that easy. Jim talked about suffering earlier. Now, is it meant for us to suffer? Is it meant for us not to suffer? Only you can decide that, really, and be the judgment of that. Hey, Keith, thank you for that. So, by the way, I want to hear from Raymond because I know Raymond's got 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, a year under his belt. And
Yeah,
Jim is going to give our last words. So, if you appreciate the mission, hey, $5. Appreciate Keith. Keith is always, there we go. $5 towards the mission there. Happy New Year. We made it to 2025. $5 or more. Yes. Helps the mission go forward. I know I got to start off the new year with all these things that are happening, and hopefully we can put it all together financially. I believe we can to make it happen. So thank you for support. Subscribe. Make sure that you turn your notifications to all. That way, if you want to be a part of this community and you want to join in and at least be once a week with us, right there. Subscription. What else do I have? Work on the thoughts. Work on your chopper. Work on it. What do you mean? Well, I don't know. You know what you're saying to you, what kind of words you use in the morning and at night. What did you say to yourself when you stubbed your toe when you crossed the bathtub? Did you beat yourself down or did you beat yourself up? I don't know. Your dialogue. That's what it's about. Make a difference. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. So $5, yeah, $5 if you can do that. And again, if you need a tax deductible contribution, ask me. I want to send it. There are many traps. Okay, Raymond, share.
Well, I don't know what we talk about today. Practicing gratitude.
What did we
practicing gratitude and self-talk, and maybe starting the day with a little bit of scripture to help you. And my thoughts are just, I don't know. I've been 5 months without gambling, and if you can cut that out of your life the best you can, I think you're better off.
You got to put something in there, huh? You got to get a hobby. You got to work on getting a hobby maybe this year, right? You got to throw a monkey wrench in your system.
There's no doubt about it, Jim. You have to replace it with something that's better.
Yeah.
Santos, I mean.
Yeah. All right. Rest in peace. I don't know. Jim, all the way from Tucson.
Yeah. One thing I have to say is, the idea of awareness.
Congrats, Ray.
One of the things that I believe we all need is some form of hope, right? And how do we go ahead and develop that hope? Everyone is here to be a part of a community that's positive and encouraging. Okay, so I want everyone to be aware of that. How can you, and it deals with people, it deals with connections. So I encourage people to go ahead and nurture that hope, really go and cultivate that hope by getting involved with groups, people that help and support you, whether it be a good church, whether it be a good GA, organization, friends. Have something to look forward to that supports you, people that will go ahead and help you, because that will give you that support, that sense of hope, I think, that will go ahead and carry you through. Because, if you try doing this stuff alone, you're going to go ahead and be like listening to a lot of negativity that's still in your mind, that negative self-talk. So we need to go ahead and be a part of, a good community. This is a good community right here, and keep searching for good people to be around, because I think that's going to go and help you, have that kind of motivation to push through the pain. Right? You have to go and push through the pain. It's not easy, but with good, constant, positive reminders, like Santos says, coming from communities like this, from communities that support you, you can get through it. You can really get through it.
All right, folks. Wow, we had some numbers tonight. Sundays is the big day. All right. I'm excited. Anyways, we're going to be back here on Sunday. Thank you for hanging out. Those of you, again, watch what you say to yourself and what you allow others to put inside here too. Even though actions are louder than words, this does make an impact. With that said, thank you once again, Jim, Tucson, and all the way in Maine, all the way to Maine there with Raymond. Appreciate Raymond. And those of you that have contributed, I appreciate you very, very much. The mission appreciates you. And those others that are being impacted in a positive way also appreciate you. Till my next one, Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Bye, Jim. Bye, Raymond.
Take care. Have a happy new year. See you by the day. We'll always be here for you. Take care.
There you go. All right.